Hello and welcome to Matchday 15 of Championship Predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage, and with me as always is Daniel Cody and Charlie Betts. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's have a quick recap on Matchday 14 where, oh no, Charlie Betts, he had an absolute disaster with just the 1 point you can see on the screen. Me and Cody both got a perfect score in Brentford versus QPR for myself and Birmingham versus Millwall, which ended 0-0. So overall, I win Matchday 14 with 7 points to Cody's 5 and Charlie on 1. So overall in the table, I move up to 94 points with 15 perfect scores. Daniel Cody's on 90, so the gap's increased with 11 perfect scores. And Charlie, with the odd point, is on 78 with 11 perfect scores as well. So let's start with the first game on Tuesday night. It's Cardiff City versus Huddersfield Town. Codes, both teams back to winning ways.
Remarkably. We've got to be fair here. We take the piss out of Charlie, but let's be honest. These two fixtures made this the most ridiculous championship predictions you have ever seen, because Luton had the best away records in the championship, or the most wins in the championship away from home since Nathan Jones returned. Got battered 4-0 by a Cardiff side that's flatter to deceive most of the time. Middlesbrough, we talked about not conceding a goal for 6 games, and then Huddersfield turn up and put 3 past them. I do not know where you go after this. And this weekend's given me a real dilemma, because do I go for what's happened at the weekend, or do I go for the norm, which is what I went for beforehand? So I've decided this week, Craig, I'm going to go with the norm. And as a result of that, this is going to be a tight game, and it's going to be a low-scoring game. We're going to go back to a boring midweek in the championship. And as a result, for no reason whatsoever, this is going to be the championship's favourite scoreline, 1-1.
Charlie.
Well, I just wanted to quickly put my very short statement out there, which is basically I now know that Brad Pitt film Moneyball is a load of horse poo, because that doesn't work as the championship. No, on a serious note, I don't honestly know, and I'm not just saying that because of this weekend. These two teams, as you said, just completely bucked any trend that we've been sort of monitoring with them, you know, of who wins at home, who doesn't. So I'm almost going at this with like a bit of a cover my eyes and throw a die and hope it comes out of a right result. I don't know. I think I'm edging just because they scored 4 at home to Luton. There's got to be a bit of momentum from that. Luton, who are very good away normally. I'm going to have to go for a Cardiff win. Huddersfield do score goals. I don't know. I might regret this. What did you go for, Dan, again? Sorry, remind me.
1-1.
I think Cardiff might sneak an extra one. 2-1 Cardiff City.
Well, Christmas came early for Cardiff on Saturday because they were gifted pretty much all the cast. Obviously, give Cardiff credit. They deserve to win, hands down. Huddersfield, brilliant result. I'm going to have to agree with Cody on this one, where the championship favourite scoreline it can only possibly be that scoreline for these two teams against each other. Only scoreline. So 1-1. Up next at St Andrews, it's Birmingham City versus Barnsley. Charlie, Aitor Karanka came out in his press conference yesterday saying that his team are a TV turn-off. And looking at the previous results, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I will say in their defence, a 0-0 draw against Millwall is not the worst result they could have got this year. There has been other ones that have been pretty dire. So having not actually watched them, just looking at the stats and stuff, which as I've proven lie quite a lot, I don't think I would want to watch them because it is a bit boring. I know that I think there's a difference. Aitor Karanka and Middlesbrough, as much as it was stout and resolute, they still had a slight attacking threat and they would, you know, you still fancied them to win games. I can't honestly say that about Birmingham. So again, it puts me in another quandary of I really don't know what Birmingham's going to turn up. I mean, to get a result against Millwall is not the worst. Barnsley do score goals though and can be a bit more clinical than a lot of other teams in the league, believe it or not. So I'm going to go for a Barnsley away win. I don't know which Birmingham's going to turn up, and that obviously scuppers every bit of my logic. So I'm going to go for a Barnsley win. 2-0. 2-0 Barnsley. No goals from Birmingham. No cutting edge.
Kate?
I've gone the opposite way, to be honest. I think Aitor Karanka's playing a game here. After letting in a lot of goals in the home games previous against Bournemouth and Wycombe, I think he's probably delighted to be getting back to clean sheet Karanka, and I think they're going to add in a goal this time as well. Barnsley have struggled on the road. Yes, they beat Derby, but at the time everyone were. But they lost heavily at Cardiff, which I've mentioned a few times. They lost against Blackburn at the weekend, and I think they're going to lose this one by the odd goal. I'm a bit worried that Barnsley's honeymoon period's over, so I'm going for 1-0 Birmingham.
I'm going to have to agree, which I shouldn't really agree, because looking after his previous results from last weekend, I'm going to have to agree with Charlie, to be honest. I said I weren't impressed with Birmingham. They just literally wanted to just be boring. And I agree with Aitor Karanka's statement of being a TV turn-off. But they're picking up points. And that's nothing spectacular, but I don't see anything out of this. But a Barnsley win, so I'm also going to go for a Barnsley 2-0 win. Up next, it's Bournemouth versus Preston North End at the Vitality Stadium. Cody, we said that Preston are decent away from home, but they got absolutely battered at the weekend.
I'm really worried about Preston. I said that I thought Alex Neil would get sacked if they didn't win at the weekend or that they lost at the weekend. The manner of the defeat was worrying. I can only see one way for this because the Preston collapse normally starts a lot later in the season. I don't know whether fans coming back later on could potentially save them. Obviously, it's not happening immediately. So I don't know. But on the road, it's fallen apart. Bournemouth are in good form. I know they'll probably be a bit disappointed to only draw at Rotherham, but keeps the unbeaten run going. They're scoring goals galore now, and Preston are shipping them for fun. So I can only see it being a heavy Bournemouth win, to be honest. And I'm tempted to go for a really big one, but I'm going to be fairly moderate. 3-0.
Yeah, I have to agree with a Bournemouth win, to be honest. I think, Bournemouth got a couple of injuries now. I still feel a bit stronger than, obviously, Preston. Obviously, Darnell Fisher's got a 3-match ban. But, yeah, Bournemouth are on their run now. They're on a good stride. They're scoring at home more than one now. I think it'll be 3-1 consolation for Preston. Charlie?
I don't want to worry you boys, but I've also got a Bournemouth win down, not for the same score, but that probably means it'll be a 2-2 draw now. But yeah, I think Preston, the bubble probably has burst away from home. I honestly, I mentioned it in the last episode. I'd love to know what's actually going on there because it feels like it goes a bit beyond just the football pitch. To have this topsy-turvy sort of form. But anyway, they are slightly better away from home, so I'll give them a chance to get in one. But I think Bournemouth might have a little bit with injuries. 2-1 Bournemouth.
Up next at Pride Park, it's Derby County versus Coventry City. Charlie, Derby couldn't get over the line in Wayne Rooney's managerial debut.
We did say that about Wycombe, though, that they're not a team that you know they don't lie down. You know what I mean? There's a strong will in that side. They picked up some good results recently, Wycombe. I don't think that's as dire a result as what And I'm not saying this is a sweeping statement, but there's a lot of maybe Derby fans are upset about obviously not winning. I get that, but Wycombe are not the worst team in the league in my opinion. I think there's actually other teams that are worse than them who are playing worse than them in a minute. Anyway. So I think on that front, it's a little bit of progress. It's still definitely not where they should be or what they want to be doing. It does make you wonder how much of this is, and I'm not doing this to goad people, how much of this is McLaren, how much of this is Rooney. There seems to be a few changes this week that have made a bit of a positive impact. Whether that's enough, though, to beat Coventry, who I will eat some humble pie over, who I thought would get pasted on Saturday against Norwich and actually come out of a draw. So I have to give them credit for that. And away from home again, do I back them to pick a result or a draw? That's the thing. I think I'm going to bottle it. I think Derby might have a little bit of a bounce just from, not losing on Saturday. Yeah, no, I'm going to go for Championship favourite scoreline 1-1. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Coventry sneaked their way win.
Coates?
Similar vein to Charlie, I don't think the Derby result's terrible. The one thing that actually is a positive for them is that they had a number of shots on target at the weekend. So the possession was they had less possession than they've had in previous games. It's only around the 55% mark, which against a team like Wycombe as well is a bit different because Wycombe play more directly usually. So the fact that the focus was getting the ball forward and getting chances was something a bit different for me. And obviously, as Charlie mentioned, being a player manager is difficult. Rooney stepped away from that and the performance was much improved. So I don't know how much we can read into that. Coventry looking really solid at the back. It's gone the other way. They'd been involved in a few surprise thrillers and now they're in the games I'd expect them to be in. The 0-0s, the 1-0s, the 1-0s. And if they can keep grinding out points, they'll be all right. I'm tempted to go for 0-0. And I'm also tempted to go for 1-0 Derby. But I don't think Derby have got enough to win yet. So I'm going to go for a blank 0-0.
Draws all round. Positives for Derby. Obviously, they scored. Dwayne Holmes was actually lovely flick by Dwayne Holmes, to be honest. Obviously, a negative, they just couldn't hang on. But there seems to be improving signs for them. Obviously, Coventry, it's really starting to be a bit of a nuisance now, which is good. That's what happens when you want to be a team that's been promoted from League One. And obviously a great point away from Norwich. Great point for them. Even though I called them boring against Birmingham. I'm going to have to agree with Charlie. I'm going to go for Championship favourite scoreline of 1-1. If Coventry were to win it, they're going to probably win it late. Up next to the Kieran Prince Foundation Stadium, it's QPR versus Bristol City. Charlie, QPR's second goal they conceded against Brentford. You can see why we get frustrated about QPR defending-wise.
Yeah. This is a tough one anyway, even if you take that goal on Friday night out of the way, because you talk about a team, actually QPR, I think they've only lost one, maybe two at home. Bristol City have only lost one away from home, I believe. So you've got two teams that actually, and I'm going by the numbers, which I know I've said about before, but they are two teams. I mean, Bristol City, I know they lost to Reading quite heavily, but Reading, although I know we've said about the bubble bursting, but you don't get where they did in the first 6 or 7 games without being a half decent side. Do you know what I mean? There's still going to be that nucleus of what was good play for them. So I don't know if getting beaten by Reading 3-1 is necessarily an indication that Bristol City is starting to blow it again. But yeah, with QPR, I don't want to start leveraging stuff, but even speaking to people who, I've got a friend of mine who's a Brentford fan, a Rangers fan, they've all said the same thing with Warburton, that you've got great going forward, but it's always that sort of bit at the back that you just worry a bit about. He's not known for his defensive prowess as a manager. So I think that's the result of it on Friday night. So with that in mind, I think there'll be goals. It's which way they go. And I can't believe I'm saying this because, to be honest, it's probably going to blow up my face. But I think there'll be a 5-goal thriller. So whether it goes 3-2 QPR or 3-2 Bristol City, due to the fact that they got beaten at the weekend, they're going to come back like a wounded animal, 3-2 Bristol City.
Codes.
I don't really know. I really don't. I've got to be honest.
Excellent.
Welcome to my world.
I've got to be, look, Bristol City, the last thing I talked about last week with them, they've finally sorted themselves out defensively. They've only let in 1 goal in 4. They're not going to lose this game, and then they go and ship 3 goals. I mean, what do you do? This weekend has completely blown everyone's mind, but I'm going back to before that. Both teams were traditionally scoring a lot and conceding a lot. QPR are always involved in thrillers. I mean, they're always conceding and they're always scoring. So the best I can do is 2-2.
Yeah, this is a really hard one because Bristol City, they weren't great on Saturday, and like they didn't have, obviously Reading battered them really. I'm going to be honest. The scoreline is flattering for Bristol City. To be honest, they obviously got back into the game from Natalie Wells, but yeah, they'll hopefully what the fans will say they didn't deserve anything back from the game. From what I saw. QPR, man, yeah, terrific going forward. The equaliser was fantastic. But yeah, it's defensively it's so frustrating. And I see it doing it again. I really can. We saw it back in the last season, and we're seeing it again this season as well. I think Bristol City will bounce back as well. 2-1 to Bristol City. Up next at the New York Stadium, it's Rotherham United versus Brentford. Rotherham got that 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. Codes, it was an excellent performance by the Millers.
It was. And to be fair, it's one of the few things that has been consistent this year. Is bar that Luton game probably, they've been far better at home than they have away. And there's not many sides in the Championship you can say that for, or in the Football League, to be brutally honest, this season. But Brentford, they come up against a side in excellent form. I mean, Brentford, they haven't lost in 6. Again, that QPR game's only the 2nd goal they've conceded in those 6 games. But they're not scoring plenty. They're reliant on Ivan Toney getting the goals most of the time. And you can't bank against him scoring. So I think this is going to be a really tight game. And for me, it's either 1-1 or it's 2-1 to Brentford. I don't want to do it to Rotherham because they're good at home, but having seen them against Luton, I think Brentford will be too good on the counter. So I'm going to go for 2-1 Brentford, and Toney will get at least one of them. Yeah,
I agree on a Brentford win. Not going to go for 2-1 though. I've been really impressed with Rotherham lately, actually. Getting results here and there. I said, you've got to be that nuisance. If you want to be a promoter, you've got to be that nuisance. Try to get yourself up the table. Get out of those relegation lanes. Because obviously they're all going to tip you, a promoted side, to be down there anyway. So you've got to be that nuisance side. So a great 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. However, I think Brentford are a bit too strong for them. They can't rely on Ivan Toney that much. When last season they had BMW, you can rely on all 3. But I think this season relying a bit too much on Ivan Toney. And if he go down injured and he doesn't play, where are you going to get the goals? However, he's still playing, he's still fit. I can see just about a 1-0 win for Brentford. Charlie?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, lads. I found it's one of the tougher ones to predict out of the league. I mean, I agree with you in terms of Rotherham pre-season. I don't think anyone would have expected them to have performed as well as they have up to this point. See, I've got the quandary of falling even further behind than I already have. So the easy option is to copy you, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take the easy option. Do I go 2-2 or 1-1? I'm going for a draw. I just think at home, Rotherham are actually a very strong side, and Brentford have been better at home than have away. So on that case, maybe not as much of a thriller as the other night. 1-1.
As we move on to Wednesday, where fans can return. Middlesbrough are playing Swansea at the Riverside Stadium. Swansea codes, they're quietly moving up the table. They moved up to 4th now. At the time of recording, they won today at Nottingham Forest. They're looking really solid.
They are. I mean, the one thing I would say, and we'll get on to Forest afterwards, is, again, 13 shots and only managed 1 on target. Had the only clear-cut chance of the game. So Swansea came up against... I mean, Forest create chances against everyone, but Swansea... They kept a clean sheet and they won 1-0, and that's all they'll care about, to be quite frank. And away from home, Swansea had been a bit weaker. So to get that win on the road will be big for them. And they're coming up against Middlesbrough, which normally every week I just go 1-0, 0-0, 1-1. And they've conceded 3 goals from nowhere against Huddersfield. And I just don't know what to say about them now. Because the only thing I'm thinking in my head is Neil Warnock will not let that happen twice in a row. So they have to keep a clean sheet. The problem is I don't think they'll score either. I think it's going to be one of the worst games because Neil Warnock will make sure they don't concede. And the Middlesbrough defence will be frightened to their bones. So it is going to be 0-0.
Charlie?
I agree with what Dan's saying. I think Middlesbrough are, one of the best teams in the league at home. So I'm banking on that being a bit of a blip Saturday because obviously they were away. So I'm hoping being at home gives them a bit more of that confidence and that form that they had at home anyway, and they're going to take that into this. Swansea have been quietly creeping up the table, but I just think, like you say, Neil Warnock won't be standing for that. I'm going to go for my favourite Middlesbrough scoreline, which I don't think has come in yet since I predicted it, but this is going to be the week. 1-0 Middlesbrough at home.
Well, I'm going to disagree with Cody being the most boring game in the week. I think it's going to be the most entertaining one. I really do. And every time I say it's been the most entertaining one, there hasn't been the most entertaining one. I think this has got draw written all over it. I think it's going to be an entertaining 2-2 draw. Up next at Ewood Park, it's Blackburn Rovers versus Millwall. Charlie, 5 successive draws now for Millwall. Their teams are hard to beat, but they're a team that can't win as well.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a 6 successful one. I mean, they're unbeaten away from home. I mean, I know what you're saying about the draws, but that still backs up what you're saying about being so good at the back. And Blackburn are unbeaten in the last 3 at home. So I think I'm going to have to go for a draw. It depends what scoreline, but I'll get to that in a sec. But to answer your question, that's all well and good, but you're only going to sit around mid-table. And I'd like to think Millwall have probably got ambitions to be higher than that. So you're going to have to, as a manager, think soon I'm going to have to change something, whether it's personnel or a slight change to the system, because it's all well and good, being stout defensively, but it's not going to get you where you want to be. So in that sense, whether that's this week, I don't think so. But the closer it gets to Christmas, there might be a bit more pressure on them to come out a bit more and play with a bit more of an attacking intent. But I don't think that's going to be this week. I think Blackburn have obviously started to steady the ship, but Millwall are draw specialists, particularly away from home. Why I'm going for a draw, I don't know. So I'm going to go for Championship's favourite scoreline, 1-1. That's 3 for this week already.
Yeah, I think the run of draws will come to an end Wednesday, to be honest, but not in a good way. Yeah, I think we said about Blackburn watching against Luton, it weren't special, but when you got someone they've got the Championship's top goal scorer, maybe with Adam Armstrong. So if he scores, Blackburn are going to do well, in my opinion. It's just keeping out the goals, I think, for Blackburn stats. The only thing that's going to be a hindrance. I think they have enough quality to beat Millwall, and it's going to be 2-1 to Blackburn Rovers. Coach.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to Adam Armstrong, at the moment, they've got the Championship's best super sub in Sam Gallagher as well. That's back-to-back away from home against Luton, then scored at home to Barnsley off the bench. A great finish as well, the outside of the foot from the edge of the box. But do you know what? 1 or 2 things will happen here. Blackburn will continue to win comfortably at home with a 3-1 or a whatever like that. Or Millwall will grit in and nick the worst 1-0 win you've ever seen. But I've already gone for a really boring game this week, and I don't want to do it again. 3-1 Blackburn.
Up next at Kenilworth Road, it's Luton Town versus Norwich. Code 1 win in 7 now for Luton. It was disastrous.
Well, it was the worst away performance since lockdown and under Nathan Jones again, wasn't it? But yeah. Look, those things are going to happen to every side. We saw it with Middlesbrough conceding 3 at the weekend. We saw it with Barnsley at Cardiff, ironically, as well, where they got battered 3-0. Norwich, not their finest hour against Coventry with a 1-1 draw at home. Luton are poor at home, but when fans were in the stadium, they were brilliant at home, and they're going to have fans in the stadium. Not enough to make a difference this week, in my opinion, but once it goes up to 2,000 on Saturday, perhaps. So as a result, I can't see Luton winning this. And we're still so susceptible at the back. Only 1 clean sheet in the last 6. And the last few defeats have been heavy ones. 4-0 Cardiff, 3-0 Brentford, the 2-0 at home to Stoke. So I'm going to go for Norwich to nick it. And it's going to be by 2-1 because Norwich have started conceding as well. So 2-1 Norwich.
I did have 2-1 Norwich as well. And I'm actually going to stick with it. Also, I know Norwich got a few injuries. I think Norwich got like 10 players out now, I think. So that could be a positive for Luton in a way, but they're so bad against Cardiff. It was horrendous. And you can't concede 2 goals in the first 10 minutes in the Championship. You cannot possibly do that. The game's over then. The game's over in the first 10 minutes. Do I think Luton will want to bounce back? Nathan Jones is adamant that Luton will want to bounce back, but it's against a tough Norwich side. And I don't see it happening. It'll be a tough game. I'm going to stick with 2-1 Norwich. So Luton are going to win. 2-1 Norwich. Charlie.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do worry a little bit where the goals are going to come from Luton as well, though. I know what you're saying about Norwich being not great at the back, but there has been, and it feels like the pressure's building just from talking to a few Luton fans that I know that about where the frustration at the lack of goals. So I think Norwich might keep clean sheet, but they have got injuries. I don't know. So there's a nagging part of me that this is the sort of games where managers like Nathan Jones then pull a result out of the bag that no one had predicted. They're at home, they're backs to the wall, that kind of thing. So whether I've got the bottle enough to do it or not. And seeing as I'm rock bottom and I'm out of the competition anyway, I'm going to go for it. So 1-0 Luton Town. Why not? Go on.
Next up at City Ground is Nottingham Forest versus Watford. Coach, we just said about Forest not being clinical, and again, they've had so many touches in the penalty area, but they just can't seem to get the ball in the net.
I mean, the one thing that's definitely going to happen on the 1st of January is that Chris Hughton's going to announce the signing of a striker. I can assure you of that. Because, I mean, I don't know what happened to Lewis Grabban earlier in the season. I don't know what's happening to Lyle Taylor now. I don't know what's happened to Sammy Amiobi, Joe Lolly, Charlie's favourite player. Not every single one of them out of form in the same time. It's a scary situation. And we have to think, how long is it before Chris Hughton's under pressure? Genuinely, because if they lose this one, it's 4 in a row. And that's all it took for Lamucci at the start of the season, albeit after a dodgy end to last year. They're playing all right. They're creating chances. And I'm going to say it every week until it happens, and it might make me look stupid 4 or 5 times. Once they score a goal, they will score 3 or 4 and blitz a team. And because I'm a Luton fan and because I'm bitter about Luton's weekend result and Watford battering Preston, this is going to be the one as well. It lost me 3 points against Swansea, but Nottingham Forest are going to win this one, Craig, by 4 goals to 1. And if Charlie got stick for Norwich, watch me now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree the same scoreline with you, to be honest. No, I'm not going to do that because I totally disagree. Yeah, I'm worried about Forest as well, not scoring goals. I'm sure Nottingham Forest fans will be worried that they can't score for the month of Sundays. But I think Watford are just too strong. That the confidence is up winning 4-1. It won't be 4-1 to Watford. It won't be 4-1 to Nottingham Forest, I can tell you that now. I'm going to go with a solid 2-0 win for Watford. Charlie?
Can I thank Dan for being a sacrificial lamb for taking the heat off me this week? I've already had enough stick as it is. No, I'm joking. No, I don't know. Watford aren't as good away from home. I think they've only won 1 in the last 4 or 5. I don't know. This is tough because, like you say, Dan, I can see both of your logics, really. Forest could just suddenly click it all together, and Watford away from home aren't great. I don't know. I might go for a draw. Do you know what? I'm going to do it. 1-1. Championship's favourite scoreline. That's 4 today.
Championship's favourite scoreline. He's on 4. Yes, he is. Up next at Hillsborough, it's Sheffield Wednesday versus Reading. Charlie, Reading back to how they were at the start of the season.
We'll get in one game. I mean, we can't forget the leaky defence in the last. No, I'm joking. No, but we can't, on a serious note, they're not saying about me, but there was value in what we were talking about. You know, they had that, and then they just completely imploded, which is a worry. Bristol City again. They both teams are a bit erratic, even though they've got good squads. So, are Reading back to form? I don't know. I think you've got to judge it after this week. Sheffield Wednesday at home. Pulis, a bit more about sort of Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. 2-1 Reading, I think. I think we're getting a bit more out of Pulis, but not yet. 2-1 Reading.
I don't know what to do with this one. I think what we've seen with Reading, in essence, is they're a squad that isn't big enough to deal with 4 or 5 injuries at a time. Once they've got near enough their first 11 fit, they were back in form again. Sheffield Wednesday looked better, though, against Stoke. They looked all right against Swansea. They've still got a few players out themselves. Obviously, missing someone like Marriott to the new year is not going to be great, but Tony Pulis is starting to get there. So it's one of the few games Charlie hasn't gone for it, so I'm going to throw in the Championship's favourite scoreline. Sheffield Wednesday will draw 1-1.
I'm not going to go for the Championship's favourite scoreline. I'm going to go with Charlie's scoreline. 2-1 win for Reading. Yeah, Reading were a lot better at the weekend, and for a team that's lost consecutively to bounce back from conceding an equaliser when they've been dominant the whole game shows a bit of character. I think that's probably what they needed, a gritty 3-1 win. If they do it at home, they've got to do it away now. So I think they've got to do the same thing again. I think they'll be dominant against Sheffield Wednesday, to be honest, on the floor with possession and that. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday will be a bit more direct. It's just a quality that's going to do them. And I think Reading will do them. 2-1. And the final games at Adams Park, it's Wycombe Wanderers versus Stoke. Charlie, Wycombe drawn the last 3 or 4 games now. They're close, but they're not getting over the line and get the victory.
On paper, you'd have thought this had been a fairly straightforward one, but given the last few games, I genuinely think this is one of the toughest ones to call this week. I honestly, because Wycombe do fight. You know, I know that earlier on against sort of Luton and stuff, maybe they're a bit unlucky, but they've been really, really good at just being resolute and defending well. And if they do go a goal behind, a lot of teams would crumble, and they haven't done that. Stoke are not as good away from home. That's a fact. I don't know. This isn't, as I would normally say, this isn't a Michael O'Neill sort of game. This isn't a team who are going to throw everything at him and then he can hit him on the counter. I can't possibly go for 5-1-1s, but I do think Wycombe might sneak another draw. No, I'm going to bottle it 0-0. I'm going to have to go 0-0. I can't see any other scoreline. 0-0.
That means that Craig's got 4 games in a row with Charlie's result, but I'm not going for 0-0. Wycombe, look, 9 points in 6 games. They'll be happy with that. Stoke, back to what we expect from Stoke. A good, solid 0-0 draw away at Sheffield Wednesday. One side is going to win this 1-0. I have absolutely no idea which one it will be. I'm inclined to go for Wycombe, you know. I think Wycombe, I'm going to go for Wycombe 1-0, but it will be, regardless, it will be 1-0 either way. I'm tempted.
Does Craig go for the point? Does he go for the point?
So, all right, I had 0-0 written down because it was the easiest one to pick, in my opinion. I'm tempted to do a 1-0 now, but to Stoke, just because when you've got someone like Tyrese Campbell who's written on a bit of form, he could do something.
Do it.
Do I go for 1-0 or 0-0? I'm going to go 0-0. I'm going to play on the fence, go for 0-0.
You're a fool. You're a fool.
Let's have a quick recap of Matchday 15. Yes, I have copied Charlie's scoreline 4 times. Charlie's also going for the Championship favourite scoreline 4 times as well of 1-1. Code's gone for a bold 4-1 Forest win. I'm going for the entertaining 2-2 draw between Middlesbrough and Swansea. And those are our predictions. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comments section down below. Give us your predictions of how Matchday 15 will turn out. Give this video a like, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at HonestFootball3. We'll see you next time.